Good morning and welcome to our Tuesday morning class. A couple of calendar issues. Today is the 17th. We're obviously having our class this morning. Next week on the 24th, we are not going to have a class. That afternoon, late afternoon, we're doing the community Thanksgiving service. It will take place at the St. Armand's Lutheran Church. It will be live streamed. To get the information and the details, get on the St. Armand's website. Now, when we begin again, which is the 1st of December, we have two programs on the Kaddish, and they will be set up somewhat differently. The entire class will not be recorded, but my comments will be. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we may begin with the back and forth discussion as I go through the Kaddish word by word with you, taking questions almost word by word, and then maybe perhaps, and this is still in my mind, I'm not sure how we're going to do this, perhaps at the end, I will have a section which will be recorded summarizing what we have accomplished. I'm just giving you a heads up as to what to expect. There was a lot of information out there that needs to be broken down into its component parts. The parts of the Kaddish were not talking yet about its meaning, its significance, its power, its role in Jewish life and Jewish society. We want to go through it word by word. What, in fact, does it actually say? What are the words that we are reciting? The topic today is Thanksgiving and giving thanks. Part one, Thanksgiving, the festival, I can call it that is at the end of every November in our secular calendar. Giving thanks, how do we give thanks Jewishly from a more traditional perspective? If there is a secular or American-wide festival that includes Jews and has more Jewish participation than anything else, it's Thanksgiving. And the concrete example that I have always given is this. Not only do Jews see Thanksgiving as part of their annual list of special or sacred days, which we don't attribute, let's say, to Christmas, the more traditional Jews who eat turkey, but would only eat a kosher turkey, will go out of their way to find a kosher turkey for Thanksgiving. So we're taking the turkey and making it part of our Jewish structure, the kosher turkey. And then parenthetically, the turkey is so important that for traditional Jews, it has to be kosher. And for vegetarians and vegans, there are all kinds of non-meat turkeys out there that are supposed to look like turkeys and taste like turkeys. That's another world completely, from my perspective at least. If you don't want to eat turkey, if you think it's wrong to eat turkey, why do you pretend you're eating a turkey that isn't a turkey? But it's none of my business what you do. If you want to go that route, but still the role of the turkey on Thanksgiving. We on Longboat Key get together. The churches and Temple Beth Israel have always sponsored a community Thanksgiving service. It's been very nice, very beautiful. It was nice when we could get together in person, fantastic socializing, and always good food. Can't do that this year. And as I've said before, I am discouraging our members from attending in person. I don't like the idea at all because we need to do everything within our power to reduce, even if we can't prevent, the spread of the coronavirus. Now, giving thanks. As we don't have to wait until Yom Kippur arrives to repent and change our ways, we don't have to wait until Thanksgiving arrives to give thanks. In fact, if you look at traditional Jewish prayer structures where there are 3 services a day, there's an extra one on Shabbat and the festivals, evening, morning, and afternoon. there is an opportunity to give thanks every day. Modim anachnu lach. We give thanks. We gratefully acknowledge, which is a fancier translation, but the idea of acknowledgement and thanks, and to whom? God. Again, parenthetically, when we say thanksgiving, there's giving going on, and where is the thanks being given? And that is to God. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. A secular Thanksgiving also does exist, along with a day after Thanksgiving, a 2-day festival for many people. The first day festival for the turkey, the second day festival for Black Friday, which has started already, so it's not such a sacred day anymore. Excuse my little off the side comments here. Now, more significantly, every time we eat, and I'm speaking traditionally, every time we eat, there is a ritual before and after the meal. We're going to talk about formal meals, and in the Jewish world, a formal meal involves bread. Bread, lechem in Hebrew, can refer to bread. It can also refer to food in general. The rabbinic tradition requires us to say Hamotzi lechem min haaretz before we eat. But more significantly, the Birkat HaMazon, the blessing, the benediction concerning food after we eat. And that's not one sentence, that goes on for pages. And the Birkat HaMazon, it is long, it is complicated. There are abbreviated versions, there's give and take. I'll talk about that in a second. But I'm going to share with you the first paragraph, and I'm going to share it in English, of course, but I want to say this is based on something, or maybe the proof text came later, in the book of Deuteronomy. When you enter the land and so on and so forth, you will eat and you will be satisfied and you will praise the Eternal One. And this from Deuteronomy 8, verse 10. This section from Deuteronomy 8 is often read at ecumenical Thanksgiving services. And if I am ever part of the service and that is what is read, I point out that this is the rabbinic proof text. Now, there's finding something in the Torah that argues for this. When you say, where is it written in the Torah? Well, Deuteronomy 8, where we have to do the Birkat HaMazon. Let me read you the first paragraph. Praised are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who sustains the whole world with goodness, kindness, and mercy. You give food to all creatures, for your mercy endures forever. Through your abundant goodness, we have never yet been in want. May we never be in want of sustenance for your great name's sake. You, O God, sustain all. You do good to all and provide food for all the creatures you have created. Praised are you, Eternal One, who sustains all. Now, if you want to be critical, there's not an ounce of truth in that, because there are people who are starving and there are people who do not have what they need. The rabbinic tradition says, how can we say it then? We're not saying it necessarily as a description. May it be a description. It is more a hope, a prayer for the future. One of the sentences at the very end, we don't have time to go through this word for word, but at the very end, which has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people who have really suffered. I was young, and now I'm old, and I've never seen a righteous person go without. Well, that's not true. So we can do one of two things. We can leave it out. And I have been at meals after which there's the Birkat HaMazon, and people, and these are people in the know, we're silent for that sentence. Or we could read it differently and say, this is a prayer, a hope. We're asking God that people will have food. May these words be reality soon. Many people don't know what to do when invited to a dinner, a bar mitzvah dinner, a wedding dinner, just something we do at TBI when we have our formal dinners. when we do the Birkat Hamazon afterwards. They're not used to it. And it begins with a give and take if you're in a community. By the way, we've talked under many circumstances of why you need a minyan, and I'm translating minyan here as quorum. Not necessarily 10, because there are other kinds of minyans. If you are by yourself and you eat, you don't afterwards go through all the give and take because there's no one to talk to. If you have at least 3 people, and in the traditional Jewish world, that would be 3 males over the age of bar mitzvah. In our Reformed Jewish world, it would be males and females. There is the give and take, Rabotai Nivarech, let us praise God. And then you respond, praise be the name of the Eternal One forever and ever, and the back and forth. And extra words are added if you have 3, 10, 100, 1,000. May you be so prosperous that you can invite 1,000 people to your daughter's wedding. You know what I'm saying. The give and take is very much part of things, and then the rest of it is chanted, and special words are put in for times when we really want to give thanks. On Hanukkah, for example, there's an extra Thanksgiving prayer. I guess what I'm trying to say is, however you want to read or understand these words, Thanksgiving is very much part of the Jewish tradition. And it is not just something you do on Thanksgiving Day when you eat your turkey, or go through what I have understood to be a very standard Thanksgiving ritual, that you go around the table and everybody says what he or she is thankful for. If nothing else, and I think it really hits home right now with the coronavirus, but it should hit home anyway. We're alive, and however meager or modest our meal, we do have something to eat. So I am going to try to summarize in this sort of way. I have been asked on very, very uncomfortable situations, do Jews celebrate Thanksgiving? Now that can be understood 2 ways, and I'm trying to think of this in a non-confrontational way. There are people who see Thanksgiving as a specifically Christian event. We have expanded it. That's another story completely. One of the ways of expanding it, I've told you, we Jews will have kosher turkeys. And if we really want to do it in a traditional Jewish way, we'll do the Birkat Hamazon after the Thanksgiving meal. In one of my previous communities, we had a community Thanksgiving commemoration where representatives from different religious groups, and there were Buddhists, and there were Hindus, and there were Muslims, and the representative Jew, and as some people so inappropriately put it, Christians and Catholics. I still cannot, I can't help but say that some people don't see Catholics as Christians. I've heard it so many times. There were Christians there, there were Catholics there too, but I'm not getting into their internal debate. But what we did, and we thought it worked well, was to have a representative from each group share from a podium a Thanksgiving prayer from that community's tradition. So that's what we did there. And what we are going to do next Tuesday on Longboat Key is another kind of Thanksgiving service where everybody hopefully will feel comfortable. It's a great opportunity for us to get together, and I hope you see the live streaming of it. It will give us another opportunity to be part of community. And I have to say something else in these horrible days that we're living through right now. Thanksgiving is a time to, quote, go home for Thanksgiving. And you used to have extra planes and trains and everything else. Try making a reservation at this time. It's next to impossible, though perhaps it's easier this year. So many people feel a real sense of loss. The Thanksgiving dinner with friends and family is something that is so important in their lives. It would be wrong of us to ignore this. But the value of human life and protecting human life is important too. So I hope when we do whatever we do for Thanksgiving, whether it's with family or without family, there is the extra prayer that next year, may we have more openness and more freedom, where concretely and specifically we can get together with our extended family or all the friends that we want, where we can have a real live Longboat Key Thanksgiving service, and pray a word of thanksgiving that we have all this new technology that I can speak to you right now, and then we can engage in conversation via Zoom later, and do that with our services as well. And may all our houses of worship be open next year on Thanksgiving. Thank you, and we'll wait a minute or so, and then we'll begin our discussion.